Dear students, through this presentation, I'm going to discuss certain tips you can keep in the mind while you are going to appear for the business study paper for term 2. So let's have a look on these tips and try to understand how exactly you have to follow these tips and you can score good marks. So before I proceed, let me tell you about my textbook. These are my textbooks under modern ABC business studies for class 11th and 12th. And one more book on business study, that is aptitude type questions. And this has been used by the student for term 1 examination. And all these books are easily available online. And now come to the main points. Let's have a look on the number of chapters we have in the term 2. Chapter number 6, that is staffing. Then we have chapter number 7, directing. Then chapter number 8, controlling. Chapter number 9, financial management. Chapter number 10, financial markets. Chapter number 12, consumer protection. So we have 6 chapters for term 2 examination. And now let's have a look on the topics which have been deleted for the term 2 examination. Under chapter number 6, staffing. Staffing as a part of human resource management. Then in chapter number 7, directing. Supervision, its concerned functions. So supervisor measures to overcome the barriers. And under this topic, all the barriers and the measures to overcome the barriers are not in the syllabus. And then we have controlling. So relationship between controlling and planning. And then in chapter number 9, under financial management, no deletion. And in chapter number 10, under financial markets, there is no deletion as well. And in chapter number 12, that is the consumer protection. And you need to keep in the mind that under this chapter, you have to prepare from Consumer Protection Act 2019. So you need to have the latest books on NCERT. And you also need to know about the amount of compensation under district, state, and national commission. So under this chapter, importance of consumer protection, scope of consumer protection, role of consumer organization, and NGOs. These are the topics which have been created by CBSE for this year. Then let's have a look on the blueprint. So for this term examination, we have 3 types of questions. Number 1, we had 2 mark question, 3 mark question, and then we had the 5 mark question. And under all this type of question, we have the 4 questions under each category. And there is some internal choices. For 2 marks, there is no internal choice, but for 3 marks, there is 1 internal choice. And under 5 marks, there are 2 internal choices. So this way, we will have 12 questions. And for total marks, 2 into 4, 8 marks, 3 into 4, 12 marks, 5 into 4, 20 marks. And your paper will be for 40 marks. And time limit, word limit. All 2 marks questions should be done between 30 to 50 words. All 3 mark questions should be completed in 30 to 80 words. And 5 mark question should be done in 80 to 120 words. So now you should know that how much time you should spend on each type of question. 2 mark question should be completed in about 5 minutes. 3 mark question should be completed in about 8 minutes. 5 mark question should be completed in about 12 minutes. So now this way, total time for 2 mark question 20 minutes, for 3 mark question 30 minutes, and 5 mark question 60 minutes. So this way, if this time time limit is maintained and as well as word limit is controlled, your paper should be completed in about 110 minutes, and this way you can have 10 minutes for revision. So for after 10 minutes revision, the paper will be over after 2 hours. And now let's understand certain tips you can keep in your mind. Tips before the preparation examination. First of all, you should go through the CBA sample paper as well as marking scheme thoroughly, because it has been observed that around 10 to 15% question normally come from the sample paper of CBSE. Then you should also go through all the answer sheets of your pre-board examination, because you must have committed certain mistake, and now you need to learn from those mistakes so that these mistakes do not take place in the final examination. And how to use the reading time: you are given 15 minutes extra before you can start the examination. So at 10:15 you are given the question paper, and at 10:30 you are allowed to write the paper. So during this 15 minutes, you should read the question very carefully and prepare the mind that which order number question you need to attempt. And during this time, you should also decide under the alternate questions. So under alternate question, you should read the question, both the options very carefully, and decide that which question you should write. So the question you are very much comfortable to write, and you are confident that alternative should be kept in the mind, and that should be done when you will be writing the paper. NCERT case problem, though there is a very limited number of case problem in the NCERT, and if you want to see the solution for NCERT case problem, you can just Google Commerce Teacher Manual, and you will see a PDF file. And on this PDF file from page number 116 and onward, you can see the tentative solution which have been prepared by the NCERT for the NCERT book itself. Mnemonic and acronyms. I hope you must have mnemonics and acronyms, and these can be used in order to remember the process, features, merits, limitation, etc. Questions based on process. If a question is asked in a process, based on a process, then process must be followed. And if you make if you write the points wrong, in a wrong order, then half may be deducted. So be very much cautious about the sequence of the steps. So normally what happens, certain steps are given in the question, and certain steps may be asked to write. And sometimes certain steps are given in the question, you have to identify the step which have been already covered in a particular question. So you need to read the question carefully, how you have to find out. And if the steps are asked, so normally it will be very simple question, just like a memory based questions. Then we have negative phrasing question. You should read the question very carefully. Sometime note what is there, and if you do not pay attention to the question, then you may write the answer wrong, and this way you may lose the marks. So just like here I have taken two questions: which source of finance should not be opted in the above case? So here the note what is written, it means there are two type of sources. One is internal sources and another is external, that is debt and equity. So from the financial management, this question has been taken. So in that question, basically the student were required to identify which source of finance, whether equity or debt. One source was not to be opted. So that has to be the answer for that particular question. And similarly, one more question, that's like write down the limitation of controlling, which are not covered in the above case. So in that type of question, in the case problem, certain limitations of the controlling were not covered, and certain limitations were covered. So the limitation which were not covered, that was your answer. So read the question very carefully. And one more question, just like open-ended question. So for open-ended question, your books cannot help anywhere. So whatever the book you use, these books are not going to help you anywhere. So under these type of question, what you are expected, you are given a certain situation, and in that situation, you are expected to give the solution. So it may be just like a newspaper cutting you may be given, or a certain lines from an article may be given, and that article may be belonging to one of the topic of your chapter. So just like I'm going to discuss one or two question under open and question, just like here. One question may be like if the employees go on strike, how you will handle the situation? Or if the employees are leaving the company as you have asked them to work from home now, or your competitor is pushing the product below its cost price, and so on. So if such a situation may be given to you, and under this situation, as a manager in a particular department, you are expected to give the solution to the management. So for these type of questions, you cannot have any book as a source of information. So you just have to use your own conscience and knowledge in order to attempt such type of questions. Next, Opinion-based questions, sometimes opinions may be asked. So just read the question carefully, and whenever the opinion-based questions are asked, then the question should be started in a very nice way. Just like here, we have two questions. Such question may be explained with agreeing or disagreeing, giving the reason thereof. Like one question there, it pays to advertise. Do you agree that when we spend amount on expenditure, then it pays us in the form of higher amount of sales? So do you agree or not? So in such a question, you can start, yes, I agree with the above statement due to the following benefits, or you may simply disagree. I don't agree with the above statement because when we incur a huge amount of expenditure, the following drawbacks take place. And you can also give the combination of agreement and disagreement. So it will be totally dependent upon you how you can write the answer. And then certain skills on the presentation and time management and the word limit. Time management, word limit we already discussed. So now let's have a look on the presentation skills. How much and how to write when a concept is to be identified or stated. So in such a case where the case problem has been given to you and you have been asked to identify the concept, you just identify the concept and explain in about 25 words, whether it has been asked to explain or not. On the safer side, you should explain the concept whenever it is asked to identify or it is to be stated. Second situation where the points are to be mentioned or the name of the points is name the points is asked. Just write the points and there is no need to explain the points. So if you have to name the points, then in that case you don't need to explain it. So the words you need to read very carefully how the words have been used in the question. And where the points are to be written, just like if you have to write importance, if you have to write the limitations. So if you have to write certain points and there is a simple direct question, in that case, in any type of question, whether it's a 2-mark question, whether it's a 3-mark question, 5-mark question, under each type of question, you should write in one point in about 25 to 30 words. So 25 to 30 words mean 2 to 3 lines, 2.5 to 3 lines, and 2 to 3 lines mean if you are using 10 words in a line. So your explanation should be in about 2.5 line to 3 lines in order to write one point. And the next thing, use NCERT heading or highlight your answer. First of all, you should give the preference to the NCERT heading. So it is expected that you have already remembered the NCERT points, and sometimes you don't remember the NCERT heading, but you can make your own heading. You are sure about that heading, you can use that heading as well. So your heading should be correct. And if you don't know the heading, then when you are explaining a point, in that point you can underline key points, keywords or key lines. So these keywords may also work as a heading. And you need to keep in mind that whenever you are writing a heading, just like a 5-mark question is there, and 5 points have to be written. So in this type of question, half mark is allocated for the heading and half mark for the explanation. Is it clear? So it means for in 5-mark question, 5 points are to be written. In that case, 2.5 marks are meant for the heading. If you simply read the heading, you will be able to secure your 2.5 marks, and 2.5 marks will be for the explanation. Now, margins on the both side of the answer sheet. Left side margin is already printed on the CBSE answer sheet. You have already been attempting the papers. Okay, so during this 15 minutes you are given, sorry, at 10 o'clock, whenever you are given the answer sheet, during that time you can simply draw the line on the right hand side. So 1.5 inch margin should be drawn on the right hand side. So what's the benefit of it? First of all, you can control the word limit. And second thing, the paper checkers. The paper checkers basically have to give the marks or the point for the parts of a question. Suppose if question has 3 parts, then for the part of the question, the paper checker has to give the marks on the right hand side, and the total of these marks is written on the left hand side, and this is encircled. So this way, first of all, you can control the word limit, and second thing, the paper checker gets us convenient to award the marks. Next, space after each question, you should leave 2 lines after each question. And after leaving this question, and and you have completed the paper in time or before time, then you can draw the lines. Otherwise, you have left 2 lines, then each and every question can be easily differentiated from the distance. And write to the point exactly what is art. Don't write any unnecessary information, any unwanted information, because it's basically affects the presentation of your answer sheet. Then what about the paper presentation? And for this purpose, what you should do, initial 2 or 3 pages should be written with those questions for which you are quite confident. So this way you leave a positive impression on the mind of the paper checker. So paper checker receive the answer sheet for different type of schools. No paper checker come to know whose schools these sheets are. So the sheet may belong to a private school. These sheets may belong to a government school or any other type of school. So it's basically your presentation or your style of presentation which attracts the attention of the paper checker. So if initial 3 to 4 sheets have been written very beautifully, this basically creates a positive image, and this gives the impression in the mind of the paper checker that you know this subject very well, and you must have been written the answer nicely for the subsequent answer. So this way basically help it helps you get more marks, and the marks you deserve. Write the question number as printed on the question paper. So don't create your own serial number. The serial number of the question which is printed on the question paper, that must be written very carefully. You may attempt the question in order of your choice. So it is not compulsory that you have to attempt the question in the serial order. You can attempt the question in your own way. If you do want to attempt the question serial order, then you need to leave a sufficient space for which you may not be answering for a particular time. When you attempt the case problem, first of all, you should read the question. So you should start the question from the below or from the bottom. First, read the question. When you read the question, you get to know that for which chapter this question has been framed. And after that, you come to know that which topic has been considered in this case problem. So after you go through, first of all, you come to know whether the answer is dependent in the case problem or not, or the answer is totally independent. If the answer is totally independent of the case problem, you don't require to go through the case problem. But you feel that but you know that your answer is hidden in the case problem, for then you have to go to the case problem, and while you go to the case problem, you have to underline the keywords and the key line which may help you to write the answer. Next, write optional part. So if you have a alternative part in a question and you are attempting the alternative part, you should simply write an optional part. So this way basically gives clarity that whether you have taken the first part or whether you taken the second part. Explain the concept involved. Asked, it has already been discussed. Whenever you have to identify the concepts, after you identify, you write, then you should explain in about 25 words. You should use the latest examples as much as possible, and this can happen if you have you are habitual to go to the newspapers and you watch the news channels. It is not necessary that you should use the language as given in the NCERT or as given in the books. You need to have the detailed conceptual clarity, a deeper understanding of the concepts, and once the concepts are clear in your mind, you can express the concept in your own way. So your concept should be expressed in a simple language. And if your concepts are clear and you have made the concept clear to the paper checker, definitely you will get full marks. Use the pictures. If you want to you want to display your answer with the help of some pictures or diagrams, that you should do after the whole paper is over. And if you are left time, then you should draw the diagram. So while you will be attempting the paper, if you want to draw some pictures or diagram, just leave the sufficient space. So after you complete the paper, then you should draw the diagram and your picture, whatever you want to draw. So basically, it will make your paper presentation more attractive. Attempt all questions. Do not leave any question unattempted. Whatever you know, just write. But don't write anything other than the subject. And if a question has certain number of parts, just like a question has 3 parts, and if you know the answer for 1 or 2 part, but you don't know the answer for some of the parts, then in that case, what you should do, you should leave a sufficient space for the part you are not attempting. Okay, so when you complete the paper, then you come back to this question, and then you should do the parts you had not attempted earlier. So all the parts of a question must be done all together. Strike off unwanted answer. If you have attempted any question twice, normally it happens when you are not satisfied with the previous answer. So definitely strike it off the old answer. So it means if you have written the answer twice, so the answer which is unwanted must be struck off. Write the number of point which is asked, just like for 3-mark question. And a 3-mark question, you have to simply write the merits of internal sources of staffing. So, or your merit, you have to write the merits of the importance of the management. Any other type of question. So if you have to write 3 points as a question for 3 marks, so in this type of question where you have to write 3 points, then you should not write more than 3 points, because only first 3 points will be assessed and the rest of the points will be written as extra attempt and no marks will be given to you, and this way you will be losing your time. Whenever the questions is based on the differences and the similarity, so this type of question should always be attempted in the tabular form. And in the first column, don't forget to write the basis. And the last point, that whenever there's a case problem, and if you have been asked to code the line, then code the line. Okay, first you have to write, identify the concept involved, then you have to explain. So just identify the concept, write the concept, the point identified, or the concept involved. Okay, just like a delegation. So in the case problem, there is one case problem, and there is a case problem is based on the delegation authority. And the question, as it has been asked to you, identify the concept involved in the above para by quoting the line. So in the answer, you will write delegation authority. Okay, and you have to explain it, then start explaining it below the delegation of point, and after this write quoted line. Okay, so if you have not been asked to quote the line and you have to identify the concept, okay, so in that case, what you can write, you can simply write the keywords or key line that can justify your answer, or you may write the reason whether asked or not. It means under all situations in the case problem, whenever you have to identify the concept, you should always quote the line, you should give the keywords or key line, or you should give the reason. This way, you will be able to convince the teacher why you have taken a particular answer in the particular case problem. So this was all about the tips regarding your term 2 examination, and I hope all these tips will be beneficial for you. Best of luck for the coming examination.